Hi, welcome to Victoria Knits. I'm Victoria. Today is September 25th, and yes, it's been quite a while since my last podcast, probably at least 6 weeks, maybe a little longer, and I will talk about the reasons for that later on in the podcast. Just so you know, you can find me on Ravelry as Victoria Jean and on Instagram as Victoria Jean W. I spend quite a bit of time on both of those. As you can see here in, well, or maybe you can't see, but anyway, here in Northwest Montana, where I am, fall has arrived. Fall feels like it's been around for about a month. It's chilly out. It's about 40 degrees right now. But with the sun on me, it feels pretty decent. Kim and I are out on a little drive to visit a lake we've never seen before here in Montana. So I thought that would be fun, and I thought I'd stop along the way and do a little podcasting. So my actually finished something. I finished my Ephetos shawl, and I really like the way it turned out. I think it's really pretty. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. The yarn is Knit Picks Gloss Fingering in Parsley and a Pumpkin colorways, and you can tell which is which. Now, I did modify this pattern just a little bit. Don't we all usually, right? Anyway, I did modify the pattern a little bit, and I'll show you what I did. This green section should not be here according to the pattern, so it only would have been the length of the pumpkin, this extra pumpkin here. But I had some extra yarn, and of course I didn't buy I didn't buy this yarn at all. I got this from Perio, if you have been watching my podcast. But I didn't have the correct yarn when I started this pattern. I do that a lot, I think, which is pretty insane, but anyway. So I had a lot of the pumpkin color left over and not as much of the parsley. So I decided I would do one section in the parsley and then add a little bit with the pumpkin. So the pattern calls for this to be this, if that makes any sense. It doesn't really matter, does it, right? I like the way it turned out. I think it's really pretty. I like the change of color, and I think it looks like a really nice fall shawl. So yeah, I'm liking it. I think it turned out nice. So yeah, we're gonna be driving for a little bit and making some stops. It's a lovely day, and we're excited to be out of the house for a little bit. So what is it about fall color, huh? It's just beautiful up here. We stopped along the road just to get some pictures of these gorgeous trees behind me. And I want to show, I did finish those shorty socks I had started. This is with Lolo Did It's Save Fantasia yarn. I like them. They turned out really pretty. I just do these on a size 1 needle. And I do a 2x2 ribbing, and it's a 60 stitch for myself. And these, I like them. They turned out really nice. There won't be much more time for shorty socks. Today we're supposed to get up to 60 degrees, and that's the high for this week. And we've been getting down to in the 20s at night. So it's been really chilly. I also want to remind everybody that the notes for this podcast are below the podcast in the YouTube video and also on my Ravelry group, which is Victoria Knits. You can find links to patterns and all that stuff there. Also, when Patty and I were together in my last podcast in Golden, Colorado, I forgot to show the things she gave me. It was so nice to see her. Hi, Patty. It was really fun. She gave me this I Heart Canada pin with a little maple leaf on it. It's really cute. And she gave me a bar of soap which is super nice. I love taking a bath, especially in the winter. She also gave me this little tea towel, which has a puffin on it. Isn't that cute? I have never seen a puffin. I would love to someday. Maybe I will, but look at the little knit cap he has on. Super cute. And she also gave me a skein of yarn from Canada. It's a Richard DeVries skein. Look at the color in that. This is called Over the Top. Patty knows me well. She knows I love bright colors. So thanks, Patty. This will be really nice to use. This is superwash merino, 80% merino and 20% nylon fingering weight. So I'm not sure what I'll make out of this, but I will find something. Also, I won the giveaway from Linda at Joey's Scarf Podcast. She'd had that summer top make along, and she drew my name. So I wanted to show what she sent. Look at this huge bag. Long Beach Island bag. It's huge. It's pink and white, which is really perfect for me, isn't it? I've never been to New Jersey ever. Not sure I'll ever get there. And she sent this little another little tote bag, a tiny tote bag with little sandals on it. Super cute. This was all for the summer make along. So she sent really summer themed things. Thank you, Linda. Super nice. And then she also sent this gorgeous yarn from Toad Hollow. This is called Orcas Island. Isn't that beautiful? Really pretty. This is the first Toad Hollow yarn I've had. If you follow their podcast, which you probably do. A lot of people watch Toad Hollow. Mary Beth and Helen. Very pretty yarn. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Linda. Linda also sent some saltwater taffy from the Jersey Shore. I'm surprised I haven't eaten this yet, but it will be eaten. That's really nice. So in my last podcast, I traveled to Wyoming and Colorado, and I decided to do a little giveaway. This was the yarn I was giving away. It's Hugh Loco Mouthy Goldfish. And here is Russell to announce our winner. You're the winner!
Lori, you're the winner!
And the winner, obviously, was Lori Perrig. And she is Chocolate Veggies on Ravelry. And I have messaged you, Lori, to get your address so I can send you this beautiful yarn. I really hope you enjoy it. Thanks everybody for entering. It was, I just love giving away yarn. And I really appreciate everyone for watching my podcast. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up if you can. Subscriptions are always really appreciated. Thanks everybody for watching. And I've been watching, I have my favorite podcasts, and one that I always watch is Allie of Little Drops of Wonderful. And I know a lot of you probably watch her too, but I really like she had a giveaway, and I really like the way she did it. She asked for suggestions for patterns that only use one skein. So if you go to her Ravelry group, Little Drops of Wonderful, and at the top there's bundles. On the right there's a folder of bundles. There are 3 bundles in there, and then check out the one skein projects. I have saved a lot of those projects into my little favorites folder in Ravelry, because we all have those beautiful one skein yarn. I know I do, and it's really nice to have those great suggestions of things to do with just one skein yarn. So Kim and I are continuing along on our little trip here. We're enjoying the scenery. It's been very pretty. Thanks for coming along with us. And let's go further. Well, we made it to Sylvia Lake. We decided to take a little detour along our road and stop here because we hadn't been at this little lake before either. This isn't our final destination, but it's a very pretty lake. Pretty isolated. We've only seen a couple cars on the trip so far. I haven't mentioned that we are in the Flathead National Forest is what we're driving through. Now, I did finish something else. I finished the Kaarre hat. I don't know quite sure how to pronounce it. I saw this pattern on Baba Yaya's podcast, and I really liked it. So I made one, and I used the size needles they call for, and you know me, Miss Loose Knitter, it's okay, but it's a little big. So I decided to try again. This was knit with size 7 needles on the main part and then size 4 here. It's DK yarn. And the yarn is Knit Picks DK Capra. And I got this as a gift from Cappy at the Yarn and I. Thank you, Cappy. This brown colorway is Topaz, and the gray didn't have a color on it. So I tried the hat again, and I went down a couple sizes. I went to a size 2 for the brim and a size 4 on the other, and I think the fit is nice. It's not as slouchy, but I like it. It fits a little more comfortable. Now the first hat I'm going to give to my daughter. She liked it. She tried it on. She says, yeah, it's a little loose, but Vanessa has a lot of hair, so it works for her. And if you're not watching the Baba Yaya podcast, you really should. She has a great podcast, and she designs patterns. So another thing I finished, and a lot of people have made this, is the Slouch, or the Sockhead Slouch hat by Kelly McClure. This is Dye for Knitting's Acid Rain colorway. I really like it. I think it's really pretty. I did a big brim on mine because I wanted to be able to turn it up to make it a little warmer around the ears. And I don't know, I'm kind of iffy on the slouchy stuff. So this one isn't, I didn't go too long on it. It's not very slouchy, but I like it. I think it turned out really nicely. So yeah, a couple of things, some more things done. Hats are nice. They go pretty quickly. That Kaarre hat pattern went pretty fast. Of course, the Sockhead hats are just a lot of knit and purl ribbing, and then a lot of stockinette knit. But it's really nice for mindless TV knitting, or for when you have little children around, which we have lately. And that's a lot of the reason I haven't podcasted recently. It's been, you know, I had 2 children, but you know, I'm retired and I've really forgotten how much work they are. So we have a 2.5-year-old Russell at home now, and a baby, Nico, that just turned 2 months. He's about 9 weeks now, something like that. They're a lot of work. They are a lot of work. Their parents are working full time, and so Kim and I are helping out with babysitting. Not as many hours as you would expect. So, but it's still been a challenge. They are a lot of fun. Also, they are a lot of fun, but they are a lot of work. So I give kudos to all those mothers and parents out there that have young children. It's like my daughter says, it's hands on deck all the time, and it's a lot. But there have been some wonderful things too. The other day at my crafting group, I actually got to go to crafting group because my son-in-law's hours worked out well, so it was really nice to go there and just knit all day. And I thought I was going to have to come home a little early, but my son-in-law stopped by when he took the boys out for a walk. He stopped by with Russell and Nico and let me know that he had been called to come to work a little later. So he said, make sure you take your time here at crafting group. So the ladies and I were sitting around our table, and most of them do cards. I was the only knitter right then. But my grandson Russell comes in. He was so happy to see me. He saw where I was sitting. I got up to say hi and show him around and make introductions. And he was so cute. He came and sat down on my chair, and he left half of it open for me. And he said, "Grammy, let's knit. Come sit beside me and let's knit." And he said, "Put it through, wrap it around, and take it off." And he said that without being prompted. I have told him that little rhyme I've made up many a time: put it through, wrap it around, take it off. And so he knows it. And so we sat down and we knit a few stitches together. It was really fun. So it's been, those little moments happen constantly every day. It'd be nice if you had a video recording of your life, right, when you're with little kids, because there's so much that happens that is adorable, and there's a lot of happens in between that is frustrating and really tests your patience. But it also inspires me to get some knitting done for them, and I recently made this little sweater for Nico. This is the baby Vertebrae. It's a paid pattern. It's super easy to knit up. I did not know that she gave instructions for worsted weight, fingering weight, and I think DK in the pattern. So you can use a wide variety of yarn to make this with, which is really nice. I got smart, and since my last experiences, I went down 2 needle sizes on this pattern when I made it, because I am quite the loose knitter. And as you can see, it fit Nico pretty well. I'll put in some pictures here of him wearing it, and I think he really appreciates it. It was pretty cute. So that was a fun little knit, and with grandchildren around, it really makes me want to knit for them more. Another thing Kim and I did just a few weeks ago was we made a trip to Missoula, which is a 2.5-hour drive from us. But an online friend of mine, Chris Latray, who is a photographer and an author, had his first book published, and he was going to be doing, how they do the little book signing. I had never been to one of those before, but he was going to do a little talk and do a book signing, and I decided it was high time. I went down and met Chris. Here's a couple pictures of us when he's signing my book. He gave a great talk. It was really enjoyable. Kim and I really didn't know what to expect, but our expectations were, well, I shouldn't say our expectations, because we didn't really have much, but it was a very enjoyable time listening to Chris talk about himself and his life, and he talked a lot about other authors. It was very interesting. So the book he had published, and he's written for other publications. He has some short stories out and other things, but this is the book. It's called One Sentence Journal: Short Poems and Essays from the World at Large, Chris Latray. He loves the outdoors, and it really shows in this book. This book is full of just small little observations he's made. There are a few, like it says, short poems and essays, but if you need a quick and easy read by your bedside or something, I highly recommend this. I could really relate because he loves the outdoors and he loves winter. And I just wanted to read a few things from here. I could read a lot, but he had Chris has always loved his pets. And when I started following him, he had this dog called Darla, who was just adorable. And I think everybody that followed him fell in love with the pictures he took of her. And he called her Darla the Adventure Dog. And here's just one of the little short things he says about her. Among my favorite sounds, the thunder of little paws against dry trail as Darla the Adventure Dog comes running up to and past me, her breath in huffs. And it was sad about last few months ago. Darla died, and he wrote, "My little companion, Darla, full of heart, was betrayed by the one in her chest, and I must face the rest of my days without her vigorous enthusiasm for life urging me on. Yeah, it almost really tears at my heart when she passed. And here's something he has to say about winter, which I love up here in Montana. We get so much snow. After back-to-back days of non-stop snowfall, the appearance of sunlight glistening off a landscape buried in winter nearly pulled tears from my morning eyes, and not from the glare. The supermoon managed only a veiled appearance every time I looked, but time and effort with a gaze turned skyward is never a waste. So he divided this up into seasons, and this is the first part of spring. He writes, I'm already missing the snow and its stories of critters moving to and fro. Just short little things like that, but I totally can relate. He also has a cat, and he says, the old cat grumbles and wheezes her way through a couple minutes at the kibble bowl in the hallway behind me, then shuffles back to her cushion, dragging my heart in her wake. Waking in the earliest hours of morning, dawn still 3 or 4 hours away, I wander the house and peer through the blinds at an achingly clear night, the moon bright enough to read by, and I'm struck by how much heart-stopping beauty we miss because we're sleeping. Isn't that the truth? And then one more. One thing about living paycheck to paycheck is that it feels like Christmas comes every other Friday. I really enjoyed reading this. I'll probably read it 2 or 3 times. Just little gems in there, which are really nice, very revealing. He captures a lot in just a few sentences, and I really admire that. Kim and I had a lot of fun meeting him, and I hope to meet Chris again before too long. All right, one more stop before we hit our destination of Tally Lake. We are close to Star Meadows. It's lovely here. I wanted to say that I have joined the Knit Crate group. I joined about 3 or 4 months ago, so they've been sending me yarn. It's been fun. It's been fun. They have some gorgeous yarns. One thing I knit out of it recently was this little garden Gnome Hoodie for my grandson Russell. This yarn is worsted weight and it's called Paws Off, is the colorway, and it's Knitologie. Now, I knit this according to the instructions on the pattern. It was supposed to be size 0 to 6 months. I wanted to knit this for Nico. I will insert a picture of Nico's disappointment that his little hoodie didn't fit, and I will insert a picture of Russell wearing it. Russell really liked it. He wore it all day long for one day. The yarn's really nice. I highly recommend the Knit Crate yarns. I think I can't remember which one I joined, but for $25 you get like 2 skeins of yarn a month. The shipping is free, so all you're paying is $25. You do not get to choose your yarn, but I like it. The Garden Gnome Hoodie pattern, when I started knitting it, I was kind of like, it uses what she calls a broken rib stitch pattern. So you knit a row, and then you do purl one, knit one, and then you knit a row, then you do the opposite, purl one, knit a row, whatever. Yeah, I found it really hard to do. I found it really hard to see what the pattern was. But you know what? I decided I was going to try it again. After I knit the first one and it turned out way too big for Nico, I decided to go 2 needle sizes smaller and try again. My daughter and grandson helped me pick this yarn out. I'll put the yarn at the bottom because I can't remember exactly what it was. It's a really simple little inexpensive yarn from Joann's I picked up. So I think you can see the rib stitch pattern on that. I think it turned out, I think it's turning out well. For some, sometimes I have to knit a pattern once and then the next time around I do a better job of it. I don't know why that is. Maybe that's how it is for everybody. I have no idea. But anyway, this is the size 0 to 6 months. It will obviously fit Nico for a while, but it is much, much closer than the first one, which was just gigantic on him. And it's my problem because I don't swatch. It's my issue. So anyway, my plan is for Nico and Russell to have matching little Garden Gnome hoodies. And I'm super excited to see them in them. And when I finished that Sockhead slouch hat, I had enough yarn left over that I decided to start a cowl. So I bought a skein of just black yarn and then did some ribbing, and then I'm gonna do this beautiful. I love this acid rain colorway. Isn't this nice? So I'm going to do that, and then I'll finish the cowl. I'll do as much yarn as I have left, and then I'll finish the cowl off with this black. So that should be really pretty. So as you can tell, I have been getting a lot of knitting done, but it's also been 6 weeks. As I said, the grandkids are taking a lot of Kim and our time, but it's I get an hour or two most mornings that I can knit, and then I usually knit a little bit in the evening. When my son-in-law isn't working, then I can get in a lot of knitting time because he's really good and he takes care of the boys. So it's given me quite a bit of knitting time. As you can see, I've gotten a lot of stuff done. And I have been watching a couple of new podcasts. I've been watching Gal and Kitten Knittin, and they are fun to watch. That's Heather and Chelsea. And I'll put their info down there. They've been, like I say, they've been enjoyable to watch. They're new podcasters. And then the Fiber Girls podcast, I just started watching that, and that is with 3 knitters, Sarah, and Kayla, and they're a lot of fun to watch. With the 3 of them, they stay, the podcast keeps moving. They all talk and they share a lot of things. They have some beautiful projects they're working on. I think I think it was them that just started a make-along colorwork sweater. So you might check them out. And then I discovered Darcey Wunker. I think that's how she pronounces her name. She has a knitting podcast, and she's a great knitter. And also, what I find interesting is she's living in Beijing, China right now. So she shares some things about China that I find really fascinating, and some video too. So she's been fun to watch too. All right, we finally made it to Sylvia Lake. I think this is the second deepest lake in Montana. Yeah, I think so. I think that's what the sign said. It was a long drive getting here, but we have arrived, and you can tell it's pretty, although it's overcast. As I said, I have managed to get some knitting done with the grandkids. And this is one of the things I've been working on. This is a Sonya tee by Born and Raised Knits. I started this pattern and got down to just below where he separated for the sleeves and tried it on, and it looked like it would fit a 10-year-old. The first size I knit was a size 3, which said it was a 36 to 38 bust. Well, that was really, really small. And I tried to be pretty loose. It's a lot of color work, and I tried to be pretty loose with my stitches, but anyway, it didn't work. So I went up to a size 5, which is supposed to be a 44-46 bust, which obviously I am not, but this is fitting. And I'm very happy about that. I also increased from a size 5 needle that it calls for to a size 7 needle for the color work. And then I went back down to a size 5 after the color work was over, and this will go on for a while. And I really want to give a shout out to Nancy's 27 on Ravelry, because she was knitting the same size I was, and she was knitting it faster. And she got to the point where hers fit the same as mine did. And so she left some wonderful notes about the changes she had made for her next one. And I talked to her a little bit through Ravelry about it. And she wears a size medium shirt the same as I do. And it was really helpful. So thank you so much to Nancy's 27 for your great notes and for helping me out. Now, the yarn for this is, I am using, for the contrast color, I'm using a yarn I won in a giveaway from Asylum Fibers, and this is from the If I Want Exposure, I'll Get My Out, that the Countess Ablaze was doing. It's a gorgeous yarn. I really, really like it. And then this is one of the knit crate yarns I received, and I thought that they went well together. This is called Knit Crates. I'll put it across the bottom. The colorway is Highlight, and I think they went really nicely together. They contrasted well, but they also had some similar colors in them, and I really like the way they're turning out together. On my Sonya tee. So I'm really looking forward to getting that finished. It is all fingering yarn, so it's taken a while. But I think I'm really going to like it. So if you follow me on Instagram, you may have noticed I did post a sad event that happened. One of our ducks was killed. A couple of neighbor dogs came over and had at it with our flock. They roughed up one of our chickens, Brazil, but she seems to be recovering pretty well. This is poor Brazil's second attack from neighbor ducks. The first, or neighbor dogs, not neighbor ducks. The first dog that attacked her 2 years ago left a 5-inch gash across her back, and Kim and I actually sewed that up and treated her and kept her in my knitting room for a while. And she recovered from that, and so this time the attack wasn't near as bad for her, but she did get a few cuts and bruises out of it, but she looks like she's going to recover okay. Our duck Blue did not. He died within about 10 minutes after the dog attack, and it was, it was quite sad. We hand raised those ducks. If you've been following this podcast for a while, we've had them since they were just a couple days old, so yeah, it was sad. You got to keep that kind of stuff in perspective. When your grandkids move in with you, you kind of realize what's really important, and ducks are ducks and grandkids are grandkids. So it was just a duck, but it was really sad to watch a beautiful bird like that die needlessly. We live on 10 acres, so those dogs had to travel a ways to come over to our property. I mean, they can't see our chickens and ducks from where they are, so they made an effort to get to them, and it was sad. All the chickens were quite frightened. They all flew off in different directions and found a place to hide, except for Blue, who didn't make it. I do want to say that when we bought our 3 ducks, we bought a chocolate runner, a Cayuga, and the third one was a khaki Campbell. Well, we didn't end up with a chocolate runner. I looked it up lately, and Marion, our female duck, is definitely the khaki Campbell. Huck, the male duck, is the Cayuga, which is really obvious because he's all black. And then the third one, our duck that died, Blue, who I had aptly named Blue, even though I mistakenly thought he was the khaki Campbell. He wasn't. I recently found out that he was a breed called Swedish Blue. He was a beautiful, beautiful duck, and it was funny that I actually named him Blue when his breed, I found out later, was Swedish Blue. Anyway, we're going to miss him, but he's gone. So the Off the Porch segment has some of the ducks in it from when Blue was still alive. And we found out that both Blue and Huck were males, so we only have Marion laying duck eggs, which was, slightly a slight disappointment because we wanted 3 hens so that we would get lots of duck eggs. But they've all the new babies, the chicks and the ducks have been, or the duck, Marion, has been laying, and so we've been getting quite a few eggs, and Russell likes to go out and check the coop to see who has laid. Since then, Kim put up a temporary fencing around the chicken run so they can have a little more space and still feel safe from the neighbor dogs, who we haven't seen over, but until we find out that they've made some kind of permanent solution to keep their dogs in check, our chickens and ducks will not be roaming. So I think that about covers it. I hope I didn't massacre Chris Lattre's the readings I did from his book too badly. It is a really nice book. It's a really easy read. You can just read little bits of it, and it's thought-provoking. It also makes me want to slow down and appreciate nature, which is always a big plus, I think. It's nice to get out, isn't it? So I'm not sure when I'll podcast again. It'll kind of depend on my son-in-law's schedule and when he has a day off and when I feel like I have enough knitting that makes it interesting to show anything. So again, thank you for watching. I'm sorry that Tally Lake is so overcast right now. I think it would be a lot prettier if it had some sun on it, but that's the weather, right? Not much you can do about that. So I guess that's about it. Thanks for watching, and goodbye from Montana. See you next time. Yeah, see that girl? You little beast. Quit. 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 Such a little monster, aren't you?
Chickens are dirty.
They are dirty, aren't they? What are they doing?
What was that? It's a fly.
Yeah. What are they doing down there, Russell?
What are they doing down there?
Taking a bath.
Taking a bath?
In the dirt.
What's that chicken doing?
Taking a bath.